Echoes in the void. The Starship Odyssey hung in orbit around XR 327, a desolate rock at the edge of known space. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling storms that raged across the planet's surface. This mission was supposed to be routine. Survey an uninhabited world, catalog resources, move on. But the universe, Elena had learned, rarely stuck to the script. Commander, Lieutenant Zara Chen's voice cut through the silence. We're picking up an anomalous energy signature from the surface. Elena turned, eyebrow raised. Define anomalous, Lieutenant. Zara's fingers danced across her console. It's unlike anything in our database, ma'am. Localized, incredibly powerful. And she paused, frowning, pulsing, like a heartbeat. A chill ran down Elena's spine. She'd been an explorer long enough to know when the universe was about to throw a curveball. Pinpoint the source. Assemble an away team. We're going down there. As the shuttle pierced XR 327's turbulent atmosphere, Elena studied her team. Dr. Aiden Novak, xenobiologist, his excitement barely contained. Security Chief Tariq Hassan, stoic as ever, hand never far from his sidearm. And Zara, the brilliant young engineer who'd first detected the anomaly. They touched down in a valley of razor-sharp rock formations, the wind howling around them like a wounded animal. As they stepped out, their environment suits the only barrier against the planet's hostile atmosphere. Elena felt a sense of anticipation, as if the very air was charged with potential. The signals coming from that formation, Zara pointed to a towering spire of obsidian-like material. As they approached, Elena noticed strange symbols etched into its surface, glowing with a faint, pulsing light. Incredible, Aiden breathed, running a scanner over the structure. This material, it's not natural. This is constructed. Elena's mind raced. An artificial structure on a supposedly uninhabited world. Can you decipher any of it? Aiden shook his head. It's completely alien. But look at this craftsmanship, the complexity. Whatever built this was highly advanced. Tariq, ever cautious, spoke up. Commander, we should report this and wait for backup. We don't know what we're dealing with. Elena was about to agree when a tremor shook the ground. The glyphs on the spire flared brightly, and a section of the rock face slid away, revealing a dark entrance. It opened for us. Zora's voice was a mix of awe and trepidation. Elena made a split-second decision. We're going in. Stay alert, weapons ready, but do not fire unless I give the order. The interior was a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Smooth, curving walls pulsed with the same soft light as the exterior glyphs. As they ventured deeper, Elena felt as if they were walking into the heart of some vast, sleeping organism. They emerged into a vast chamber, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. In the center, suspended in a field of shimmering energy, was something. A being, vaguely humanoid but unmistakably alien. Its form was ethereal, almost translucent, with tendrils of light swirling beneath what seemed to be its skin. My God, Aiden whispered, it's beautiful. As they approached, Elena noticed the being's chest rising and falling slowly. It's alive, she breathed. Suddenly, the energy field flickered and dissipated. The alien's eyes snapped open, vast, opalescent orbs that seemed to contain entire galaxies. It gasped, a sound like wind through crystal, and began to fall. Without thinking, Elena lunged forward, catching the alien in her arms. It was surprisingly light, almost weightless. As she held it, she felt a surge of something. Emotion. Memory. Images flashed through her mind. A world of light and song. Then darkness, loss, an endless sleep. And then, to Elena's astonishment, the alien began to weep, not with sound, but with light. Streams of luminescence flowed from its eyes, and Elena felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness, of isolation so profound it made her heart ache. "It's okay," she found herself whispering, though she knew the alien couldn't understand. "You're not alone anymore." The alien's gaze locked with hers, and in that moment, Alina understood. This being had been here, alone, for an unimaginable span of time. And now, for the first time in eons, it was experiencing something it had long forgotten: connection. As Alina held the alien, she became acutely aware of her team's reactions. Aiden was furiously taking readings, his scientific curiosity warring with obvious concern. Tarek had his weapon half raised, torn between perceived threat and the clearly non-aggressive nature of the alien. And Zara was staring at the alien with a mix of wonder and recognition that Alina couldn't quite place. "Commander," Tarek's voice was tense. "We need to report this immediately. This is way beyond our mission parameters." Alina nodded, but didn't release her hold on the alien. "Agreed. Zara, get a message to the Odyssey. Tell them we've made first contact." As Zara relayed the message, Alina turned her attention back to the alien. Its weeping had subsided, but it still clung to her, as if afraid she might disappear. Up close, Alina could see patterns swirling beneath its translucent skin, like star systems in constant motion. "Can you understand me?" Alina asked softly, not really expecting a response. To her surprise, the alien's head tilted slightly, its vast eyes focusing on her with newfound intensity. Aiden approached cautiously, scanner in hand. "Commander, I'm picking up incredible neural activity. It's trying to communicate." Alina felt it then, a gentle pressure at the edge of her consciousness, like a tentative knock on a door. Instinctively, she closed her eyes, focusing on that sensation. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with images, emotions, concepts too alien to fully grasp. But beneath it all was a singular, overwhelming feeling: gratitude. When Alina opened her eyes, she found the alien mimicking her, its own eyes now open and fixed on her face. Slowly, deliberately, it raised a hand, more of a tendril, really, and touched her cheek. The contact sent a jolt through Alina's entire body, not painful, but intensely alive. I think it's trying to thank us," Alina said, her voice thick with emotion. Zara stepped forward, her earlier message to the ship completed. "Commander, there's something else. These structures, the energy readings, they're not just a stasis pod. I think this whole complex is some kind of archive." Alina's eyes widened. "An archive? Of what?" Zara gestured around the chamber. "Everything. Their history, their knowledge, maybe even their very essence. This being, it might be the last of its kind, preserved here with the sum total of its civilization." The implications were staggering. Alina looked back at the alien, still nestled in her arms, and felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. They hadn't just found a lone survivor. They'd stumbled upon the last remnants of an entire alien culture. "We need to protect this place," Alina said firmly. "And we need to find a way to communicate properly." She gently helped the alien to its feet, noting how it seemed to be growing stronger by the moment. "Aiden, focus on deciphering their language. Zara, see what you can learn about this technology. Tarek, I need you to prepare a security plan. If word of this gets out, every power in the galaxy is going to want a piece of it." As her team sprang into action, Alina turned back to the alien. It stood now, towering over her, its form rippling with patterns of light. But despite its otherworldly appearance, Alina recognized the emotion in its eyes: hope tinged with lingering sorrow. "I don't know if you can understand me," Alina said softly, "but I promise you this: you're not alone anymore. Whatever happens, we'll face it together." The alien's response was beyond words. The entire chamber seemed to pulse with light, and Alina felt a wave of emotion wash over her. Gratitude, yes, but also something deeper. A connection that transcended species, transcended the vast gulfs of space and time that separated them. As Elena looked around at her team, Aiden's excitement, Zara's wonder, even Tariq's grudging fascination, she knew that everything had changed. Their routine survey mission had become something far greater. They had taken the first step on a journey that would reshape humanity's understanding of the universe. And it had all started with a simple act of compassion, a human reaching out to comfort a being that had known nothing but solitude for eons. Elena squared her shoulders, a smile tugging at her lips. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain. The universe had just gotten a whole lot more interesting. Whispers across the stars. The next few days aboard the Odyssey were a whirlwind of activity. The alien visitor, whom the crew had taken to calling Lux, due to its luminous nature, had been given quarters adjacent to the science lab. Elena had insisted on hospitality over containment, a decision that raised more than a few eyebrows among the higher-ups back on Earth. Dr. Aiden Novak hunched over his console, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. Scattered around him were holographic projections of alien symbols, each pulsing gently in time with Lux's bioluminescent patterns. "Anything new?" Elena asked, setting a steaming mug of coffee next to the scientist. Aiden ran a hand through his disheveled hair. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered, Commander. Their language isn't just verbal or written. It's experiential. Each symbol doesn't just represent a word or concept. It encapsulates entire sensory experiences, memories, emotions. Elena frowned. "How is that even possible?" "I have a theory," Aiden said, pulling up a 3D model of what they'd learned about Lux's neurophysiology. Their brains, or what passes for a brain in their species, it's quantum entangled on a molecular level. They don't just communicate, they share consciousness. The implications made Elena's head spin. "So when Lux touched me in the chamber," Aiden nodded, "you weren't just sensing its emotions. You were, for a brief moment, experiencing its memories, its very being." A soft chime interrupted them. Lux had emerged from its quarters and was hovering near the lab entrance, its form rippling with gentle pulses of light. Elena approached slowly, hands open in a gesture of peace she hoped was universal. "Good morning, Lux. Did you rest well?" The alien's response was a shimmer of colors across its surface, accompanied by a gentle wave of emotion that washed over Elena: gratitude, curiosity, and a lingering undercurrent of sorrow. Aiden scrambled to adjust his instruments. "Commander, I think it's trying to initiate a deeper connection, like what happened in the chamber, but more controlled." Elena took a deep breath. "All right. How do we do this?" "Physical contact seems to strengthen the link," Aiden said. "But be careful. We don't know the full extent of." Before he could finish, Lux extended a tendril of light. Elena, pushing aside her apprehension, reached out and took it. The world exploded into color and sensation. Elena found herself floating in a sea of memory and emotion, surrounded by flashes of an alien world. Towering spires of crystal that sang in the wind. Vast oceans teeming with creatures of living light. And throughout it all, a sense of harmony, of connection so profound it brought tears to her eyes. But then, darkness. Fear, a great calamity that Elena couldn't fully comprehend. Flashes of a desperate plan, a last-ditch effort to preserve something precious. When the vision faded, Elena found herself on her knees, gasping. Lux hovered nearby, its glow dimmed to a soft, sorrowful blue. "Commander." Aiden was at her side, scanner whirring. "Are you all right?" Your neural activity was off the charts. Elena waved him off, her eyes fixed on Lux. "I'm fine. I saw." She struggled to put the experience into words. "Their world, Aiden. It was beautiful. But something happened. Some kind of disaster." Lux pulsed, and this time, symbols appeared in the air around it. The same glyphs they'd seen on the alien spire. But now, After the shared vision, Alina found she could almost understand them. They were dying, she said softly, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. Their star was fading. They knew they couldn't save everyone. So they found a way to preserve their essence, their history, their culture, their very consciousness. Aiden's eyes widened. The archive. It's not just data. It's them. Their entire civilization, stored as pure information. Alina nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of what she'd learned. And Lux. Lux is the key. The guardian, left behind to wait for someone to find them. As if in response to her words, Lux's glow intensified. New symbols appeared, more complex, more urgent. Aiden frantically input the data into his translator. Commander, I think it's trying to tell us something else, something about why it was left behind. Before Alina could respond, the ship's comm system crackled to life. Commander rise to the bridge immediately. Captain Yara's voice was tense. We have a situation. Alina cast an apologetic glance at Lux before hurrying to the bridge. She found Captain Yara standing rigid, staring at the main view screen with a grim expression. Report, Alina said, trying to shake off the lingering effects of her mental link with Lux. Yara turned, her face grave. We're picking up an incoming ship. It's not one of ours. Alina's blood ran cold. First contact. Here, Yara shook her head. No IFF, no response to hails. But the energy signature, Alina, it matches the readings from the alien archive. Whatever's coming, it's connected to your friend down there. As if on cue, the view screen lit up with a new contact. A ship unlike anything Alina had ever seen, all sleek lines and pulsing energy, emerged from the swirling storms of XR-327. Battle stations, Yara barked. All hands prepare for. Wait, Alina interrupted. Captain, we can't assume hostility. This could be Lux's people. Yara's expression softened slightly. Alina, I know you formed a connection with the alien, but we have to think of the safety of this ship and crew. Before Alina could argue further, the alien ship unleashed a burst of energy. But instead of impacting the Odyssey, it enveloped the human vessel in a cocoon of shimmering light. Panic erupted on the bridge as systems flickered and died. Alina felt a familiar presence brush against her mind. Lux, its thoughts tinged with urgency and fear. They're not here to rescue Lux, Alina realized aloud. They're here to finish what they started. As the Odyssey hung helpless in space, Alina knew they were facing a threat beyond anything humanity had prepared for. The true purpose of the archive, the reason for Lux's millennia of solitude, it was all about to be revealed. And the fate of two civilizations might rest on the unlikely bond between a human explorer and the last guardian of a long-lost world. Shadows of the past. The Odyssey hung motionless in space, enveloped in the alien ship's energy field. On the bridge, chaos reigned as crew members frantically tried to restore systems. Report. Captain Yara's voice cut through the din. Lieutenant Chen's fingers flew over her console. Main power is offline. We're running on emergency backups. Weapons, shields, propulsion. All dead. Alina's mind raced. The fear she'd sensed from Lux, the aggressive stance of the alien vessel, none of it made sense. We need to get Lux up here, she said. It might be our only chance to communicate. Captain Yara turned, her expression a mix of frustration and concern. Commander Reyes, I understand your connection with the alien, but we can't risk. She was cut off as the ship shuddered violently. On the view screen, a beam of energy lanced out from the alien vessel, not towards the Odyssey, but towards the planet below. They're targeting the archive, Alina realized aloud. She turned to Yara, her voice urgent. Captain, we have to stop them. Whatever's in that archive, they want it destroyed. Yara hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Do it. Get your alien friend up here. But Commander, her voice hardened, if this goes south, It's on you. As Elena rushed to the science lab, she found the corridors in disarray. Crew members hurried about, some panicked, others grimly determined. She burst into the lab to find Aiden and Lux surrounded by a whirlwind of holographic symbols. "Lux," Elena called out, "we need your help. Your people, or whoever they are, they're here." The alien's form pulsed with agitation, its usual soft glow now a turbulent storm of colors. As Elena approached, she felt waves of emotion washing over her, fear, regret, and a desperate urge to protect. "I know you're scared," Elena said softly, extending her hand. "But we need to understand. Why are they attacking? What are they after?" Lux hesitated, then reached out. The moment they touched, Elena's mind was once again flooded with alien sensations. But this time, instead of the beauty of Lux's homeworld, she saw conflict, a civilization torn apart by ideological strife. Two factions, one seeking to preserve their culture, the other determined to erase all trace of their existence from the universe. A civil war. Elena gasped as the vision faded. Your people, they weren't all in agreement about the archive. Aiden, who had been monitoring the exchange, looked up from his instruments. "Commander, I think I understand. The archive isn't just a record, it's a seed. A way to potentially resurrect their entire civilization." The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. "And the ones attacking us, they want to make sure that never happens." A violent tremor shook the ship, nearly knocking them off their feet. "We need to get to the bridge," Elena said, helping Aiden up. "Lux, come with us. We might need to translate." As they made their way through the chaotic corridors, Elena's mind whirled with possibilities. They were outgunned, outtouched, caught in the crossfire of an alien conflict they barely understood. But if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was thinking outside the box. They burst onto the bridge just as another energy beam struck the planet's surface. Captain Yara turned, her face grim. "Commander, I hope you have good news." Elena quickly explained what she'd learned from Lux. As she spoke, she could see the weight of the situation settling on Yara's shoulders. "So we're in the middle of an alien civil war," Yara said, her voice tight. "Any bright ideas on how to get out of this alive?" Elena glanced at Lux, then at the alien ship on the view screen. A crazy idea began to form. "Captain, what if we could speak to them in their own language?" Yara's eyebrows shot up. "Explain." "The archive," Elena said, her words coming faster as the plan took shape. "It's not just data, it's consciousness. If we could tap into it, use it to amplify Lux's abilities, we might be able to establish a direct mental link with the alien ship." Aiden finished, catching on. "But Commander, the risks are better than certain destruction." Elena cut him off. She turned to Lux, who had been watching the exchange with those impossibly deep eyes. "What do you think? Can we do it?" Lux's response was a pulse of determination that Elena felt in her very bones. The alien moved to the center of the bridge, its form beginning to glow with increasing intensity. "Divert all remaining power to the communications array," Elena ordered. "Aiden, see if you can rig up an interface between Lux and our systems." As the crew scrambled to comply, Elena felt a tugging sensation at the back of her mind. She turned to find Lux extending a tendril towards her. Understanding dawned. "You need an anchor," Elena said softly, "a human mind to help bridge the gap." Captain Yara stepped forward, concern etched on her face. "Elena, you can't. We have no idea what that kind of connection could do to you." Elena met her captain's gaze steadily. "With all due respect, we're out of options, and out of time." Before Yara could protest further, Elena reached out and took Lux's offered tendril. The world exploded into light and sensation. She was dimly aware of her physical body collapsing, of Aiden calling out in alarm. But those concerns felt distant, unimportant. She was everywhere and nowhere. Her consciousness expanded beyond the confines of her human form. Through Lux, through the incredible technology of the archive, She could feel the minds aboard the alien ship. Their anger, their fear, their absolute conviction that what they were doing was right. With an effort that felt like moving mountains, Alina focused her thoughts. "We are not your enemies," she projected, feeling Lux amplifying and translating her message. "We are explorers, seekers of knowledge. Like you, we face the vastness of space and time. Like you, we strive to leave a legacy." She felt the alien minds recoil in shock, then press back with suspicion and hostility. Images flashed between them. The Archive's destruction, the eradication of all trace of their civilization. They believed it was the only way to find peace, to end the cycle of conflict that had torn their people apart. "But don't you see?" Alina countered, drawing on every ounce of her humanity, her compassion, her hope for the future. "In trying to erase your past, you're denying the possibility of growth, of change. The Archive isn't just your history, it's your potential." She sensed hesitation, confusion. Seizing the moment, Alina opened herself fully, sharing her own memories, her own hopes and fears. The wonder of first contact, the thrill of discovery, the belief that the universe was vast enough for all stories to matter. "Your conflict doesn't have to define you," she pressed. "Let it teach you instead. Let the Archive stand as a testament to what you were, and a guide to what you could become." For a moment that felt like eternity, Alina's consciousness hung in the balance, stretched between human and alien minds. Then, slowly, she felt the hostility begin to recede. Confusion gave way to curiosity, then to a cautious hope. The energy field surrounding the Odyssey flickered and died. On the view screen, the alien ship's weapons powered down. Alina gasped as she was slammed back into her body, the sudden return to physical form leaving her dizzy and disoriented. She found herself on the floor of the bridge, surrounded by concerned faces. Did it work? She managed to croak. Captain Yara helped her to her feet, a mix of awe and relief on her face. "See for yourself, Commander." On the view screen, a message flashed, not in any human language, but in the complex symbols they'd seen in the Archive. Beside her, Lux pulsed with joy and relief. "They want to talk," Aiden translated, his voice filled with wonder. "Alina, you did it. You actually got through to them." As the bridge erupted in cheers, Alina leaned heavily on the captain's arm, her mind reeling from the experience. She touched minds across the gulf of space and culture, had glimpsed wonders and terrors beyond human imagining. But in that moment, what filled her with the most pride was the simple fact that when faced with an impossible situation, humanity had done what it did best: reached out, made a connection, and changed the course of history. The real work of understanding, of reconciliation, of charting a path forward for two vastly different civilizations was just beginning. But as Alina looked around at her crew, at Lux glowing with newfound hope, she knew one thing for certain. The universe had just gotten a whole lot more interesting, and humanity was ready to face it head-on. Bridges across the void. The days following the confrontation with the alien ship were a whirlwind of activity aboard the Odyssey. As Alina recovered from the mental strain of the interspecies link, the crew worked tirelessly to establish more conventional means of communication with both Lux's people and the faction that had attacked them. Alina stood in the newly christened Nexus Chamber, a repurposed cargo bay now housing a dizzying array of human and alien technology. At the center stood a holographic projection of the alien archive, its intricate structures slowly rotating in the air. "It's beautiful," Dr. Aiden Novik murmured, his eyes never leaving the display. "Each layer, each connection. It's not just data, Alina. It's art." Alina nodded, feeling a familiar sense of awe. And to think, this is just a fraction of what's actually down there on the planet. Their contemplation was interrupted as Captain Yara entered, followed by a shimmer of light that coalesced into Lux's now familiar form. "Commander Reyes," Yara said, her tone formal but with an undercurrent of warmth. "Our guests are ready to begin negotiations. Are you prepared?" Elena took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. As I'll ever be, Captain. As they made their way to the conference room, Elena felt a gentle brush against her mind. Lux, offering silent support. The bond between them had grown stronger since the crisis, a bridge between two vastly different forms of consciousness. The conference room had been specially modified for this historic meeting. One side held the human delegation. Elena, Captain Yara, Dr. Novak, and key members of the crew. The other side seemed empty at first glance, but Elena knew better. The air shimmered with barely visible forms, the representatives of Lux's people choosing to manifest as fields of energy rather than adopt more solid forms. Between them stood a device of both human and alien design, a translator that would convert the aliens' thought speech into something the humans could understand, and vice versa. Captain Yara stepped forward, her voice steady. On behalf of the United Earth Government and all of humanity, we welcome you aboard the Odyssey. We come in peace and with a sincere desire to understand and learn from one another. The air rippled, and a voice emerged from the translator, melodic, yet with an undertone that sent shivers down Elena's spine. We are grateful for this opportunity, the voice said. For eons, we believed ourselves alone, our civilization a fading memory. Your actions have opened possibilities we had long abandoned. Elena felt a swell of emotion, not her own, but emanating from Lux and the other aliens. A mixture of hope, trepidation, and a deep, abiding sorrow. We understand that our arrival has placed you in a difficult position, Elena said, choosing her words carefully. Our interference in your internal matters was not intentional, but we stand by our actions in preserving the archive. There was a pause, filled with an almost tangible tension. Then, another voice spoke, harsher, more discordant. You meddle in affairs beyond your comprehension, it said. The archive was sealed for a reason. Its knowledge, in the wrong hands, could reshape the very fabric of the universe. Elena felt a flare of indignation, quickly tempered by understanding. With all due respect, she said, isn't that true of all knowledge? The potential for both creation and destruction exists in everything we learn. It's how we choose to use that knowledge that defines us. The conference room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Elena pressed on, drawing on everything she had experienced since that first moment in the alien chamber. We've seen glimpses of your civilization's greatness, she said softly. The wonders you created, the heights you reached. But we've also felt the pain of your fall, the scars left by conflict. She gestured to the shimmering forms before her. You stand here now, divided, each believing your path is the only right one. But what if there's another way? Lux moved forward, its form pulsing with a gentle light. Through their connection, Elena felt its intent and nodded, encouraging it to speak. I was left as guardian. Lux's thoughts flowed through the translator, not just of data or history, but of possibility. Our people faced extinction, yes, but in preserving ourselves, we also preserved the chance to learn from our mistakes, to grow, to become something new. The harsh voice spoke again, but this time with less certainty. And if that something new repeats the errors of the past, if it leads to even greater calamity, then we face it together, Elena said firmly. Humans, your people, whatever other civilizations exist out there in the vastness of space, we learn, we adapt, we move forward. She stood, her gaze sweeping the room. The universe is too big, too full of wonders and dangers, for any of us to go it alone. Your archive isn't just a record of what was. It's a foundation for what could be. A chance for your people to guide not just yourselves, but others who might follow in your footsteps. The room hummed with energy, thoughts, and emotions swirling in a complex dance. Elena felt hope, fear, excitement, and a dozen other sensations she couldn't even name. Finally, the first alien voice spoke again. Your words carry wisdom, human. Perhaps there is merit in this path you propose. The harsher voice added, we will need time to consider, to debate among ourselves. But we are open to further discussion. Captain Yara stepped forward, a smile tugging at her lips. That's all we can ask for. We stand ready to assist in any way we can. As the meeting adjourned, Alina felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. The mental and emotional strain of the past few days was catching up to her. But underneath the fatigue was a spark of excitement, of possibility. Lux approached, its form shimmering with what Alina had come to recognize as happiness. You have done more than you know, its thoughts whispered in her mind. You have given us hope. Alina smiled, reaching out to touch the alien's luminous form. That's what humans do best, she said softly. We hope, we dream, and we never stop reaching for the stars. As they left the conference room, Alina's mind was already racing with the possibilities ahead. The knowledge contained in the archive, the technologies they might share, the cultural exchange that could reshape both their civilizations. But more than that, she thought about the bridges they were building. Not just between humans and Lux's people, but between past and future, between caution and ambition, between fear and hope. The path ahead would not be easy. There would be misunderstandings, setbacks, moments of doubt. But as Alina looked around at her crew, at Lux, at the shimmering forms of their new alien allies, she knew one thing for certain. Together, they were writing a new chapter in the history of the universe. And it was going to be one hell of a story. A new dawn. 6 months had passed since the Odyssey's fateful encounter with Lux and the alien archive. The once desolate world of XR-327 now bustled with activity, a joint human-alien research base sprawling across its rocky surface. The planet Storms, once a barrier, now served as a natural shield for the sensitive work being conducted below. Commander Alina Rice stood at the viewport of the newly constructed Harmony Station, orbiting high above the planet. The station was a marvel of collaborative engineering, blending human ingenuity with the advanced technology of Lux's people. It served as a neutral ground, a place where the two species could work together to unlock the secrets of the archive and chart a course for the future. Quite a view, isn't it? Dr. Aiden Novik's voice broke through Alina's reverie. The xenobiologist had barely left the station since its completion, his excitement at the wealth of new knowledge palpable. Alina smiled, turning to face her friend. Sometimes I still can't believe it's real, she admitted. All of this, it's beyond anything we could have imagined. Aiden nodded, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. The things we're learning, Alina. It's revolutionary. The archive isn't just a record of their past. It's a roadmap to technologies we've only dreamed of. Clean energy, faster than light travel, even ways to rehabilitate dying ecosystems. And that's just scratching the surface, Alina added. She felt a familiar presence brush against her mind and turned to see Lux approaching, its luminous form now a common sight aboard the station. Our friends have made a breakthrough, Lux communicated, its thoughts tinged with excitement. They wish to share it with you. Alina and Aiden followed Lux to the station's central laboratory. Inside, they found a team of human and alien scientists gathered around a holographic display. Captain Yara was there too, her face a mixture of awe and apprehension. Commander, Yara greeted her. You're going to want to see this. The hologram shifted, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Scattered across it were pulsing points of light. What are we looking at? Alina asked, though a part of her already suspected the answer. One of the alien scientists, a shimmering form of energy Alina had come to know as Zin, stepped forward. Archives. Zin's thoughts flowed through the translator, scattered across the galaxy. Some dormant, some active, but all containing the accumulated knowledge and essence of civilizations long thought lost. Alina's breath caught in her throat. You mean, there are more out there? More like you? Lux pulsed with affirmation. We were not the only ones to face extinction. Many civilizations, over the eons, chose this path. To preserve, to wait, to hope that someone would find them. My God, Aiden whispered. It's It's a galactic library, a network of knowledge spanning millions of years. Captain Yara's voice was tight with concern. And now we've stumbled into the middle of it. The implications, the responsibility. Alina understood her captain's apprehension. The knowledge contained in just one archive had the potential to reshape human civilization. A galaxy full of them. The possibilities were as terrifying as they were exhilarating. "We need to proceed carefully," Alina said, her mind racing with the implications. "This isn't just about us anymore. We're talking about the legacy of countless civilizations." Zin's form rippled with agreement, which is why we have come to a decision. One we hope you will support. The hologram shifted again, showing a detailed schematic of a ship unlike anything Alina had ever seen. It blended the organic curves favored by Lux's people with the more angular designs of human engineering. "A ship?" Alina asked, studying the image closely. "An explorer," Lux corrected. "Designed to seek out these archives. To learn, to preserve, and where possible, to reawaken dormant civilizations." Aiden's eyes widened. "You're proposing an interstellar archaeological mission." "More than that," Yara said softly. "They're proposing to resurrect the dead." The weight of the moment settled over the room. Alina felt the familiar mix of excitement and trepidation that had become her constant companion since that first day in the alien chamber. "It's not a decision to be made lightly," Zin communicated. "The dangers are as great as the potential rewards, which is why we ask for your partnership, your humanity." Alina understood then why she had been called to this meeting, why Lux had insisted on her presence. They weren't just sharing information. They were extending an invitation. "You want us to join you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Lux moved closer, its form pulsing with warmth. "Who better to bridge the gap between past and future? You, Alina Reyes, have shown us the power of empathy, of connection across the depths of space and time. Your people, for all their youth, possess a spirit of exploration and adaptation that our own had long forgotten." Captain Yara stepped forward, her expression serious. "Commander, this goes way beyond our original mission, beyond anything Starfleet has prepared for. If we agree to this, we'll be charting a new course," Alina finished. "Not just for humanity, but for countless civilizations across the galaxy." The room fell silent, all eyes on Alina. She felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her, the enormity of what was being proposed. But underneath the pressure was a familiar spark, the same thrill she'd felt when she first joined Starfleet, the call to explore, to discover, to connect. Alina took a deep breath, her decision crystallizing. "We'll need to consult with Earth, of course. This isn't a choice I can make for all of humanity." She paused, looking around at the assembled team, human and alien alike. "But speaking for myself, I say we do it." The room erupted in a mixture of cheers and pulses of alien emotion. Alina felt a wave of approval and excitement wash over her, emanating from Lux and the other aliens. "It won't be easy," she continued, her voice carrying over the commotion. "We're talking about bridging gaps not just of space, but of time, of culture, of fundamentally different ways of existing. There will be misunderstandings, dangers we can't even imagine yet." Aiden stepped up beside her, his face set with determination. "But that's what we do, isn't it? We explore. We learn. We grow." Captain Yara nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "And we do it together." As the team began to discuss the practicalities of their new mission, Alina found herself drawn back to the viewport. The stars seemed brighter somehow, each one a potential home to wonders beyond imagination. Lux joined her, its presence a comforting warmth at the edge of her consciousness. "You have given us more than you know," it communicated. "Not just hope, but purpose. A chance to right ancient wrongs, to forge a new path." Alina smiled, reaching out to touch Lux's luminous form. "That's the thing about paths," she said softly. "They're always clearer when you walk them together." As she stood there, on the threshold of a journey that would span galaxies and epochs, Alina felt a profound sense of rightness. This was why humanity had looked to the stars, had dreamed of worlds beyond their own, not just to explore, but to connect, to learn, to grow. The empathy protocol, born in a moment of crisis, had become something far greater, a bridge across the vast gulfs of space and time, a promise that no matter how far they roamed, they would never truly be alone. As the Harmony Station continued its silent orbit, Alina Reyes and her team, human and alien alike, began to plan their greatest adventure yet. The archives of countless civilizations awaited, each one a story to be understood, a legacy to be honored, a future to be shaped. And humanity, with its boundless curiosity and inexhaustible capacity for empathy, would be there to help write the next chapter in the grand story of the universe. The journey ahead would be long, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But as Alina looked out at the star-filled expanse, she knew one thing for certain: they were ready.